Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. This is your brother Dawada from the Men of Valor Campaign, Greenville, South Carolina, coming back with another video on sincerity and in truth. Lord willing, it can be edifying. And we're very much living in, the times of 2nd Esdras 9, Jeremiah the 30th chapter, 2nd Esdras 15, 2nd Esdras 16. So the Spirit was on me to read some of this out of 2nd Esdras 16 chapter, because so much is about to be going on, and how everybody has been used to things moving, running, social dynamics, relationship dynamics, everything is about to get flipped on its head, food scarcity, all these different things, man. All right, we're living in those times. Hey, they still aren't, attempting to reopen the government. To my understanding, the mass majority of people have not received their SNAP benefits, okay? And, we're on a day-by-day basis at this point, man. They're going to try to push these people to their tipping point so they can bring order out of the chaos. But nonetheless, man, Spirit was on me to bring out a little bit of this, and Lord willing is edifying. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 16, verse 17. It says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? All right, this was Esdras speaking on the visions that he was given, okay? And the prophets of old understood reincarnation, that he'd be back. So he's saying like, hey, and this was a prophet who an angel of the Lord was dealing with, and even he was saying, who's going to deliver me in these with all this evil and death going on? All right, because he was able to see it. That was his reaction. Verse 18, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings. We read this a lot, but when you really just look at it and think about it, it's like, man, it's not going to be a happy time for the mass majority of people. It says the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death. All right. And that's why, we keep speaking on this whole SNAP benefits thing, because, this is looking to be a manufactured famine. OK, not that the food isn't necessarily available right now, but the means to be able to get it are becoming scarce for most people. If you got 40 million people relying on the government to feed them, that's giving the government all the information they need. They're going to starve a portion of these Americans out, man. And that's going to trickle into them becoming desperate and them going to take to those that have. So then you're going to have class wars, because you're going to have the people that have trying to defend what they have. And you're going to have the people that don't have that are going to try to take from the people that have, man. It says the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars. You see Trump starting all these damn wars, talking about attacking Nigeria, talking about attacking Venezuela. Israel's talking about going into, Lebanon, and they've continued fighting in Gaza. All right. They ultimately want to go against Iran. You got the Ukraine-Russia war still going on. You'll have different skirmishes and stuff, start here and there. All right, so it says the beginning of wars, man, because, hey, the war is going to continue to intensify. All these things that we're reading about are here to stay until the end, man. Yahweh Shah said he come to send fire on the earth, and what will he if it be already kindled? So shit is already going to be happening. Blood is already starting to pour into the streets. Hey, you see what's going on in Sudan, and it's so much blood out there that Google Maps, you can see the shit from Google Maps, man. And it's not getting a lot of media coverage, all right, because they're not Edomites. But nonetheless, man, hey, things are happening in the world. It says the beginning of wars and the power shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, meaning bad times. What shall I do when these evils shall come? And what we're going to do is trust in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, because the same power that warned us of these things is going to give us the ability to weather through it. Verse 19, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sending scourges for amendment. So the Lord sends these things, because the Lord said he formed the light and create darkness. He makes peace and creates evil. The Lord does all these things. So the Lord is sending famine, plague, tribulation, anguish, sending them so that you people could acknowledge your offenses, but you won't. Verse 20 says, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. So you're not even considering. Jake isn't even considering, man. You know? Like there was a video I was watching yesterday, just watching like a compilation of videos of these women just lamenting. And this one damn high cholesterol black woman was just on some shit like, oh God, they took my stamps away. Oh God, just kept saying, oh God, man. Instead of actually seeking Yahweh Shem Yahushua and living. Verse 21, behold, victuals shall be so good, cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. So yeah, you can still get DoorDash. You can go get a four for four. So you think you're good. It says, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, meaning more bad times. Sword, famine, and great confusion. You see this word famine keeps coming up. Even Yahushua mentioned famine as a major end time sign. All right, and that's something that these Americans have not really dealt with. All right, because they've had these SNAP benefits. If you were below the poverty line, you could go and get on these SNAP benefits, and the government would give you money to get food. And they've used this money to trade with. They'll sell their food stamps to fund their lifestyle. And then they could just go in and load up on shit. They don't have to be conscious of budgeting or anything, because they're having shit given to them. So now that Esau's taking it away, they're about to they're dealing with real food instability, man. All these different lines outside of these food banks and stuff, and that's why we keep saying our value is going up, because we actually have the mind to understand what's going on and why it's happening. Okay, we're not shaking to and fro. It says, even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. All right, so people aren't going to know what's going on. They're going to want answers. And who was actually out here giving answers? The prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. But it's too late for you, because they're about to come down and demonize us, man. Because they don't want this truth going out. They don't want us soiling their plans when they're trying to accomplish it. Verse 22, it says, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine. All right, and what's famine? The scarcity of food. And there's only one cure for famine, and that's to eat. There's only one cure for hunger, for malnutrition, and that's to eat. The Lord is about to starve you out. In Lamentation, it says, they that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. All right, so that's a slow, painful death. So it says, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man left to comfort them. For the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be cast down. And we know this happens in different places of South America, Africa. All right, but it's going to come here to America in a major way. Verse 24, there shall be no man left to till the earth and to sow it. You know how you got, the city crews and stuff that come in, make sure the trash is off the ground. They'll plant, the gardens and stuff like that. Make it look all nice. Nobody's going to do that anymore. So it's going to, look wild out here. Verse 25, the trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men. So it's going to get, man, people ain't going to be out in the chief places of conquerors like that when all hell is breaking loose, including us. Verse 27, so that one man shall desire to see another and to hear his voice. Brothers might be in times of isolation, because we don't know where we're going to be when the deal goes down, man. We know that the Lord is going to guide brothers, but hey, brothers are going to be going through many diverse things. Verse 28, it says, for of a city there shall be 10 left, and 2 of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the clefts of the rocks. As in an orchard of olives upon every tree, there are left 3 or 4 olives, or as when a vineyard is gathered, there are left some clusters of them that diligently seek through the vineyard. Even so in those days, there shall be 3 or 4 left by them that search their houses with the sword. So you're going to have different mercenaries, armed gunmen and stuff that are gonna be going around. All right, and that's why it's gonna be such a dangerous time, you know. And these women, that's why they're gonna seek that stability because they're gonna realize that the power is not in their hands, man. You know, they're gonna hope to be with a man that's actually gonna respect them and treat them right, because it's gonna be all type of graping and shit going on in those times, man. You know, you getting snatched up, you getting sold for peanut butter and shit, all right, because of the famine. You know, you women are gonna get in line. It's about to get real dark out here. But the Lord is gonna cover His elect, the elect men, women, and children. All right, the Lord is gonna protect them. He's gonna hide them. It says, verse 32, it says, and the earth shall be laid waste, and the old fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall go forth, shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel there through. You know when you have like in the woods and stuff, if you have a path, but if nobody goes on that path for a long time, the woods will pretty much overtake it if nobody clears it out. Well, that's how these cities and stuff are going to be. That's how the places that were civilized, inhabited. That's how they're going to end up. Verse 33, it says, the virgins shall mourn having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn having no helpers. So it's going to be a time where these men are going to be drafted into the war, and these women, they're not going to have anybody to marry. All right, which is going to lead to Isaiah 4:1. And this isn't the only scripture where it speaks about these men going and dying in the war, man. Isaiah the 3rd chapter goes into it as well. So, that I don't need a man spirit is about to leave the earth. It's leaving the earth daily, man. All right, we see it. We see the countenance on you women, man. You're losing that proud, haughty look that you had for so many years. Whether it's the food stamps, whether it's your job, whether it's, you can't afford your bills, whatever. And then men just utterly pretty much done with you women, man, as far as taking you serious. All right, verse 34, it says, in the war shall the bridegrooms be destroyed. Once again, there's going to be a draft. It says, and their husbands shall perish of famine. So again, major judgment, wars and famine reserved for these men, which is going to create a shortage of men, which the Lord is going to make a man of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua more precious than fine gold, even the golden wedge of Ophir. All right. Verse 35, it says, hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord. Behold, the word of the Lord, receive it. Believe not the gods of whom the Lord spake. Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. Verse 38, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh, they slack not a moment. So, when brothers that have children, you'll know when your woman, she's starting to go into labor, those contractions will start, hitting her. And they'll be further apart at first. And then the closer, you get to the baby being born, those contractions become more frequent. They'll go from 30 minutes apart to 20 minutes apart to 10 to 5 to a minute apart. And then the baby, is ready to come out. The Lord is painting this picture. So just how you think about that process, where you have these major events happen. You had the Crown Vic a couple years ago. You had different market crashes and stuff like that. But now, as of lately, it's just been shit going on. Wars, tariffs, snaps getting cut off. They're trying to set up these different data centers. They're trying to bring about a new system. All this happening at once. Verse 39, even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon earth. And the world shall mourn, and the sorrow shall come up upon it on every side. This doesn't look like a prosperous time that we're entering into, man. Our lives are about to change, some for the better and some for the worse. Verse 40, it says, O my people, hear my word. Make ye ready for the battle, for thy battle. And in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. So, that's why we don't put too much stock into what we have now, because hey, we might have to walk away from it. We don't know where we're going to be when all hell breaks loose. You might not have time to go back home and grab your bug out bag and grab some waters and shit. You're going to have to just move in the spirit. So the Lord is preparing our minds to be pilgrims upon the earth, man. You know, we don't know where we're going to end up. You know, you might end up in a whole different state. You know? Verse 41, he that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away, and he that buyeth as one that will lose. He that occupieth merchandise as he that have no profit by it, and he that buildeth as he that shall not dwell therein. So, you know, right now we're still in the world. We still have these jobs and stuff. We get up, we go to work. But at any moment, when the Lord sees fit, when it's time for the next phases of prophecy, you know, our lives are going to be shaken, and you got to be ready for that. You got to be mentally, and we're ready, man. We're tired of fucking working. We're tired of these bills. We're tired of these proud ass women. We're tired of Esau ruling over us. We just tired of all of this shit. So we're ready for the next phase, man, to where we can fully trust on Yahweh Shem Shah, because that's our superpower. Our faith in the Lord is our superpower, man, because these people don't have faith. Verse 43, he that soweth as if he shall not reap, so also he that planteth the vineyard as he that shall not gather the grapes. And they that marry as they that shall get no children, and they that marry not as the widowers. And therefore they that labor, labor in vain. For strangers shall reap their fruits and spoil their goods and overthrow their houses and take their children captives. For in captivity and famine shall they get children. And they that occupy their merchandise with robbery, the more they deck their cities, their houses, their possessions, and their own persons. You know, everybody has heaped to themselves these different treasures, things that they like, you know, but it's all going to be taken away. Verse 48, the more will I be angry with them for their sins, saith the Lord. Like as a whore envieth a right, honest, and virtuous woman, so shall righteousness hate iniquity when she decketh herself, and shall accuse her to her face when he cometh that shall defend him that diligently searcheth out every sin upon earth. You know, and I'm going to stop right there, man. But this is a second Exodus 16 chapter is very heavy, man. All right, very much perilous times are ahead of us, man. You know, we're seeing Operation Dark Winter. You know, it's not looking like they're going to open this government. They're going to letting this shit go, man. It's time to set up their new system. You know, they don't care if you people were comfortable. They pulling the damn rug, man. So just wanted to bring this out. Lord willing, it was edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, Haru well. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Till next time, Shalom.